Facing a crisis from the Schols-Clarion alliance, Hammond Media CEO Madison Hammond is cornered, unaware that her brother, Derek Hammond, is secretly collaborating with rival Sophia Dustin of Dustin Shipping to orchestrate a hostile takeover. As the Dustin merger talks dominate headlines, Ethan Scholes and Olivia Clarion solidify their partnership while wrestling with the dangerous personal feelings developing between them and their rivals. Conglomerate Wars, Part 7, The Convergence, Los Angeles, Hammond Media Tower. The morning sun reflected off the glass and steel facade of Hammond Media's headquarters, but inside Madison Hammond's corner office, the atmosphere was arctic. She stood at her floor-to-ceiling windows, watching Los Angeles wake beneath her, while her phone buzzed incessantly with alerts she refused to answer. "You can't ignore this forever," Derek Hammond said from the doorway, his younger brother's casual confidence grating against her frayed nerves. Madison didn't turn. "Watch me. The board wants answers. Our cryptocurrency division lost $2 billion in market cap overnight. The Clarion-Scholes alliance is bleeding us dry." Derek crossed the expansive office, his footsteps muffled by imported carpeting that cost more than most people's annual salary. "And there are still questions about your trip to San Francisco last month." Now Madison turned, her expression sharp enough to cut. "My personal life is none of the board's concern." "It is when your personal life involves Ethan Scholes." Derek pulled out his phone, swiping through what Madison knew would be surveillance photos. 3 meetings in 2 weeks. Care to explain what you were doing with our biggest rival?" Madison's jaw tightened. What could she say? That she'd been drawn to Ethan despite every logical reason to hate him? That their late-night conversations about philosophy and purpose had meant more than any business deal? That she'd felt something she hadn't experienced in years, maybe ever. "Industrial espionage works both ways," she said coolly. "I was gathering intelligence." Derek's laugh was hollow. "Is that what you call it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're compromised." "Get out." "Madison, I said get out." Her voice cracked like a whip, and Derek retreated, but not before she saw the concern in his eyes mixing with something darker. Ambition, perhaps. Her brother had always wanted her position. Alone again, Madison pulled up her encrypted messages. Nothing from Ethan in 3 days. Their last conversation had ended badly, with accusations and recriminations about loyalty and trust. She'd said things she regretted. So had he, but worse than the silence was the intelligence report sitting on her desk. Scholes Cybersecurity had just acquired a controlling interest in Metacore, the metaverse platform that was supposed to revolutionize digital interaction. And they'd done it using capital that looked suspiciously like it had come from Clarion Cloud Computing. The alliance between Scholes and Clarion was becoming something more permanent, something that could destroy everything her family had built. San Francisco, Scholes Innovation Campus. Ethan Scholes stood in the center of his company's cybersecurity operations room, surrounded by screens displaying data flows from across the globe. Lines of code scrolled past at inhuman speed while his team monitored threats, both foreign and domestic. "Sir, we have confirmation," his chief technology officer, Yuki Tanaka, said, approaching with a tablet. "Someone's been trying to breach our metaverse infrastructure. Sophisticated attack, multiple vectors, designed to look like routine penetration testing. Source? We traced it back through 4 proxy servers and a darknet routing system." Yuki hesitated. "It originated from Hammond Media's cryptocurrency division." Ethan felt something cold settle in his chest. Madison, or someone in her organization. He wanted to believe she wouldn't authorize an attack like this, not after everything they'd shared. But trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. "Show me the attack signature." Yuki pulled up the data, and Ethan studied it with the intensity that had made him one of the youngest cybersecurity billionaires in history. The pattern was elegant, almost beautiful in its complexity. Whoever designed this was brilliant, too brilliant. "This isn't Hammond's style," he said slowly. "This is something else." His phone buzzed. Olivia Clarion. He'd been avoiding her calls since their partnership had started feeling like something more than business. Olivia was dangerous, brilliant, beautiful, and absolutely ruthless. She'd made her interest in him clear, both professionally and personally, and Ethan wasn't naive enough to think those two things were separate in her mind. But right now, he needed answers. "Olivia," he answered, "we need to talk." That's funny. Her voice was silk over steel. "I was about to say the same thing. Have you seen the news?" Ethan pulled up a financial network on one of the monitors. The headline made his blood run cold. Dustin Shipping announces merger talks with Hammond Media, East Coast-West Coast Alliance, to counter Schols-Clarion partnership. "Shit. My thoughts exactly," Olivia said. "Sophia Dustin just declared war. If she successfully merges with Hammond, they'll control media distribution across every major platform, plus the shipping infrastructure to dominate physical goods and the cryptocurrency backing to fund unlimited expansion." I love making these videos for you. If you liked this story, then please like, subscribe to my channel, and switch on the notifications for more entertaining stories. Please also leave a comment for any story suggestions. "While we control digital security and cloud infrastructure," Ethan said, thinking it through, "it would split the entire industry into two camps and force everyone else to choose sides." Olivia's tone shifted, became more intimate. "Which is why I'm in San Francisco. We should meet, compare notes, discuss strategy." "Where?" "I'm in your lobby." New York, Dustin Global Headquarters. Sophia Dustin stood at the head of her boardroom table, commanding attention the way her great-grandfather had once commanded ships. At 34, she was the youngest person ever to lead Dustin Shipping, and she'd proven her worth by diversifying into media when everyone else thought she was insane. Now those same doubters sat around her table, hanging on her every word. "The Hammond deal gives us everything we need," she said, using a remote to cycle through presentation slides. "Media production and distribution through Hammond, physical logistics through our shipping network, and Hammond's cryptocurrency division provides the financial infrastructure. We become a vertically integrated powerhouse. If the Hammonds agree," her CFO pointed out, "Madison Hammond is notoriously difficult to negotiate with." Sophia smiled. "Madison Hammond is also desperately seeking allies. Scholes and Clarion have her cornered. She needs us more than we need her. And she's smart enough to know it." What Sophia didn't mention was her personal interest in this deal. She'd met Derek Hammond at a charity gala 6 months ago, and their connection had been immediate and electric. He was ambitious, charming, and eager to prove himself outside his sister's shadow. He was also willing to provide insider information about Hammond Media's vulnerabilities. Their affair had started as mutual convenience, corporate espionage wrapped in silk sheets, but somewhere along the way, it had become complicated. Sophia had started to care, maybe even started to fall. Dangerous territory for someone in her position. Her phone vibrated with a message from Derek. "Board meeting ended badly. Madison suspicious. Need to accelerate timeline." Sophia excused herself from the boardroom and called him. "What happened?" Derek's voice was tight with stress. "She knows I've been talking to someone. She hasn't figured out it's you yet, but it's only a matter of time. My sister is paranoid, but she's not stupid." Then we push harder. "I'm announcing a hostile takeover attempt tomorrow morning. 20 billion in cash and stock. Your board won't be able to refuse that kind of premium. Madison will fight you. Let her. While she's fighting me, she won't notice you gathering votes to replace her as CEO." Sophia kept her voice cool and professional, even though her heart rate had increased. "This is what we planned, Derek. What we've been working toward." "I know. He trailed off. "This feels different than we discussed. More personal." "Business is always personal at this level." "That's not what I meant, Sophia." She closed her eyes. They were crossing a line, getting too close, letting emotion cloud judgment. "We can talk about this later. Right now, focus on your board. I need you to deliver 5 votes minimum." After they disconnected, Sophia stood at her window overlooking Manhattan. Somewhere across town, Marcus Clarion was probably making similar calculations. The Clarion family had been rivals to the Dustins for 3 generations, ever since both companies had competed for the same military contracts during World War II. Now Marcus's daughter Olivia was making moves with Schols, trying to corner the digital infrastructure market. Well, Sophia would show her that traditional industries still mattered, that physical shipping, real media production, and tangible assets would always trump cloud computing and cryptocurrency speculation. Her assistant knocked. "Ms. Dustin, you have a visitor. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's urgent." "Who?" "Ethan Schols." San Francisco, Quantum Restaurant, private dining room. Ethan had left Olivia Clarion waiting in his lobby after seeing the news about Sophia Dustin's presence in New York. He'd made an excuse about an emergency security briefing, then immediately chartered a flight to JFK. If Sophia was making moves with Hammond, he needed to understand her strategy. Now, sitting across from her in one of Manhattan's most exclusive restaurants, he was reminded why she was so successful. Sophia Dustin radiated controlled power. Her dark eyes missed nothing, and her posture suggested she was ready for either negotiation or combat. "This is unexpected," Sophia said, swirling wine in her glass. "I thought you'd be busy with your metaverse project." "The metaverse is just infrastructure," Ethan replied. "The real game is about partnerships and alliances. You're trying to build one with Hammond. I want to know why." "Isn't it obvious? Your alliance with Clarion threatens everyone who isn't part of it. I'm simply securing my position. By attacking my partner's competitor, that makes you my enemy." Sophia leaned back, studying him. "Does it? Or does it create an opportunity for negotiation? You're smart enough to know that 4-way competition is unsustainable. Eventually, it collapses into a 2-sided conflict or a single monopoly. I prefer neither." "Then you're more idealistic than I thought." She set down her wine. "Let me guess, you're here to offer me an alternative. Some kind of 3-way partnership that excludes Hammond and creates a united front." Ethan had to admit he was impressed. "You're quick." "I'm also not interested. I have a deal with Hammond." "You have talks with Hammond. Nothing signed. Yet." Sophia's phone buzzed, and she glanced at it, her expression shifting slightly. Whoever the message was from, it mattered to her. "And unless you're offering something better than $20 billion in merger value, I suggest you stop wasting my time." "What if I could offer you something Hammond can't? Complete security for your digital infrastructure, priority access to our metaverse platform, and protection from the kind of cyberattacks that could cripple your shipping logistics. I can buy that security from a dozen vendors, but only I can guarantee that attacks won't happen in the first place." Ethan let that sink in. "Because only I have the capability to launch the kind of attack you're worried about." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. "Are you threatening me, Mr. Schols?" "I'm explaining reality. You're about to enter a corporate war. I'm offering you the choice of which side you want me on." Sophia stood abruptly. "This meeting is over. Enjoy your meal. It's going on my tab. Consider it a gift before things get truly unpleasant." As she walked out, Ethan cursed himself. He'd played it too aggressively, let her see too much of his hand. Now she'd be even more committed to the Hammond deal, if only to prove she couldn't be intimidated. His phone rang. "Olivia, where the hell are you?" she demanded. "I've been sitting in your lobby for 3 hours." "New York, I had to handle something without consulting your partner." Her voice could have frozen nitrogen. "We have an alliance, Ethan. That means we communicate. Or did you forget that while you were busy playing secret agent? Sophia Dustin is about to announce a hostile takeover of Hammond Media. I was trying to prevent it." A pause. "And? I failed. She's committed." Another pause, longer this time. When Olivia spoke again, her tone had shifted from anger to calculation. "Then we need to accelerate our own plans. I'm acquiring Sterling Communications. It'll give us media distribution to counter Hammond Dustin." "That's a $15 billion acquisition." 23, actually. I'm paying a premium to move fast. She hesitated. I need you to commit, Ethan. All in. No more side conversations with competitors. No more secret trips to New York. We're partners or we're not. Ethan thought about Madison, about their late-night conversations and the connection he'd felt. Then he thought about the cyber attack on his systems and the reality that sentiment had no place in business. We're partners, he said. Good. Then get back to San Francisco. We have work to do. Los Angeles, private residence, Hollywood Hills. Madison sat on her terrace, looking out over the city lights. At midnight, Los Angeles was beautiful, a scattered constellation of possibility and ambition. Somewhere down there, millions of people were living their lives, completely unaware that the companies controlling their communications, their money, their digital lives were locked in a war that would reshape everything. Her phone rang. Derek. Don't hang up, he said immediately. Just listen. Sophia Dustin's hostile takeover announcement comes tomorrow at market open. I'm voting with her. Madison's hand tightened on the phone. You're betraying me. I'm saving the company. You're so busy trying to play both sides, cooperating with Schols while fighting him, rejecting alliances while hemorrhaging market share, that you can't see the obvious solution. Dustin's offer is good. It's generous. It's the best option we have. It's a takeover, Derek. We lose control. You lose control. I get a seat on the board of the merged entity and control of our cryptocurrency division. The family name stays on the building. Shareholders make a fortune. And what did Sophia promise you personally? Madison asked quietly. A corner office? A position where you finally get to prove you're as good as your sister? Derek's silence was answer enough. You're sleeping with her, Madison said, the pieces falling into place. That's what this is about. She seduced you and you sold out our family. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Explain it to me, Derek, because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you chose your cock over your blood. At least I'm choosing something, Derek exploded. You're paralyzed, Madison. You have feelings for Ethan Schols, but won't act on them. You want to fight the Clarion-Schols alliance, but won't commit to the resources needed. You want to maintain independence, but won't make the sacrifices required. You're trapped between what you want and what you need, and it's destroying you. Madison ended the call. Her hands were shaking. Derek was right. She knew he was right. But that didn't make his betrayal hurt any less. Her phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. We should talk before this gets worse. Yes. Ethan, of course he knew about the takeover already. His cybersecurity systems probably monitored every major corporate communication in real time. She should ignore it. Should focus on fighting Dustin's hostile bid, shoring up her board support, protecting her company. Instead, she typed, where? Neutral ground. Vegas. Tomorrow night. I'll send details. Madison looked out at the city again. Tomorrow, her company would be under attack. Her brother would be leading the charge against her, and she was about to meet with someone who might be her greatest enemy or her only ally. She'd built Hammond Media into a powerhouse through careful planning, strategic thinking, and emotional detachment. Now, all three of those pillars were crumbling. Time to roll the dice. New York, Clarion Tower. Marcus Clarion stood in his son's old office, looking at the portrait of the young man he'd lost 5 years ago. Brain cancer, inoperable, 3 months from diagnosis to death. His heir, his legacy, gone before his 30th birthday. Now his daughter Olivia was running the company, and while she was brilliant, perhaps more brilliant than her brother had been, she was also reckless. This alliance with Schols, this aggressive expansion into media and metaverse infrastructure felt like overreach. You wanted to see me? Olivia's voice came from the doorway. She looked tired, he noticed. The stress was getting to her. Tell me about Ethan Schols. Olivia's expression became guarded. He's our partner. We've been over this. I'm not asking about business. I'm asking what he means to you personally. That's not relevant. Everything's relevant when it affects judgment. Marcus moved to the desk, picked up a framed photo of Olivia and her brother from when they were children. I see the way you look at him, the way you talk about him. You're developing feelings. I'm developing a strategic alliance. Are those mutually exclusive? Olivia sighed. What do you want me to say, Dad? That I find him fascinating? That I respect his mind and his ethics in an industry that usually has neither? Fine. I admire Ethan Scholes. That doesn't mean I'm compromised. Your brother said something similar about his college girlfriend, right before he nearly tanked a $50 million deal by refusing to compete with her startup. I'm not Thomas. No, Marcus agreed. You're tougher than he was. More driven. More willing to make hard choices. He set down the photo, which is why I'm worried. Because if you do develop real feelings for Scholes, you won't handle it better than Thomas did. You'll handle it worse. This conversation is over. Olivia, I said it's over. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. For what it's worth, I know the risks. I know that mixing personal and professional is dangerous, but we don't have the luxury of caution anymore. Dustin and Hammond are merging. That creates a competitor with resources equal to our own. We need Scholes. We need his technology, his reputation, his market position. And if I have to use personal charm to keep him committed, then that's what I'll do. After she left, Marcus sat in the silence. His daughter was playing with fire, and she knew it. The question was whether she'd master the flames or be consumed by them. Las Vegas, Skyloft Suite, MGM Grand. Madison arrived at the hotel suite at 9 p.m., dressed in jeans and a leather jacket, armor of a different kind than her usual boardroom suits. The suite was spectacular, all windows and modern design, with Vegas glittering below like a synthetic galaxy. Ethan was standing at the bar, pouring scotch. He looked different than he had during their San Francisco meetings. Tired, she thought, the weight of corporate warfare showing in the set of his shoulders. Thanks for coming, he said, offering her a glass. I haven't decided if this is brave or stupid yet. Madison took the scotch, but didn't drink. You're allied with Clarion. I'm being acquired by Dustin. We're on opposite sides of a war. Are we? Ethan moved to the windows. Or are we both trapped in a game neither of us wants to play? Philosophy again. You really can't help yourself. Guilty. He turned to face her. I didn't authorize that cyber attack on your systems, but someone in your organization did. Yes, and I'm still trying to figure out who and why. He took a drink. The attack signature was sophisticated enough to be one of my senior engineers, but the motivation doesn't make sense unless someone wants to drive us apart, Madison finished. Make sure we stay enemies. Clarion or Dustin. Maybe both. Madison finally drank the scotch, feeling the burn. Derek's sleeping with Sophia Dustin. He's been feeding her information about our operations for months. Christ. That's one way to put it. She set down the glass harder than intended. My own brother. And the worst part, he's not wrong about our situation. I have been paralyzed, trying to maintain some middle ground that doesn't exist. Because you don't want to become like them, Ethan said quietly. Like us. Ruthless, calculating, willing to sacrifice anything for market advantage. Is that so wrong? No. It's human. He crossed the distance between them. I got into cybersecurity because I wanted to protect people, to make the digital world safer. Now, I spend my days planning corporate attacks and defending against them. The only difference between me and the criminals I used to fight is the legality of my methods. They stood close enough that Madison could smell his cologne, feel the heat of him. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was a mistake, that getting closer to Ethan Scholes would compromise everything. But Derek was right about one thing. She was tired of paralysis. What do we do? She asked. I don't know. If we try to be together, our companies will tear us apart. If we stay enemies, we destroy each other anyway. Ethan's hand came up, almost touched her face, then dropped. There's no good answer. Then let's pick the bad answer that at least makes us happy. Madison closed the final distance and kissed him. For a moment, Ethan hesitated. She felt his surprise, his internal debate between logic and desire. Then he was kissing her back, hands in her hair, all the tension of months of denial finally breaking. They didn't make it to the bedroom. The couch was closer, more urgent. Clothes became obstacles to be dealt with impatiently. Madison felt like she was shedding armor with every button, every zipper, until she was finally just herself. Not a CEO, not a dynasty heir, just a woman who wanted this man with an intensity that bordered on painful. Later, tangled in sheets, they dragged from the bedroom. Ethan traced patterns on her shoulder. "This doesn't solve anything," he said. "I know. Probably makes everything worse. Definitely makes everything worse." Madison turned to face him. "But I'm done pretending I don't feel this. Done letting fear make my decisions. So what do we do? Run away together? Abdicate our thrones and live as normal people? Could you do that? Walk away from Schols' cybersecurity?" Ethan considered. "No, it's not just a company to me. It's my life's work, my purpose. Same. Hammond Media is my family's legacy. I can't just abandon it." She sat up, pulling the sheet with her. "So we find another way, some path between complete surrender and total war. You're describing détente, corporate détente. Is that possible? I don't know, but I'm willing to try." Ethan's phone buzzed insistently on the floor. He ignored it. "Tomorrow, everything gets complicated again. Dustin announces her takeover. You have to fight back. I have to support Olivia against your new alliance. One night then. Tonight, we're not CEOs or rivals. We're just us. I can live with that." New York, dawn. The following morning, Sophia Dustin stood in her office, watching the sun rise over Manhattan. In 30 minutes, markets would open. In 31 minutes, her hostile takeover announcement would hit the wire services. By lunch, Hammond Media's stock would be in play, and Madison Hammond would be fighting for her corporate life. Her phone showed 3 missed calls from Derek. She'd been ignoring him since yesterday, needing space to think. Their affair had started as strategy, but somewhere along the way, she'd developed actual feelings. Messy, complicated, potentially disastrous feelings. She called him back. "Where have you been?" Derek demanded. "I've been trying to reach you for hours. Preparing. Today's a big day. Sophia, we need to talk about what happens after, about us. After I acquire your family's company, that's what you want to discuss? Don't." His voice was raw. "Don't pretend this is just business. Not with me." Sophia closed her eyes. "What do you want me to say, Derek? That I have feelings for you? Fine, I do. That this has become more complicated than I planned? Obviously. But none of that changes what has to happen today. What if I could give you something better? A clean merger instead of a hostile takeover. Madison's resignation, in exchange for a generous settlement, and a guarantee that Hammond Media keeps operational independence. You could deliver that? If I knew it meant something to you. If I knew this was about more than corporate conquest." Sophia looked out at the city, at the empire her great-grandfather had built from a single cargo ship. Love was a luxury her family had never been able to afford. Her parents had married for business. Their parents had done the same. Romance was for people who didn't have legacies to maintain. But Derek's voice held hope. Real, vulnerable hope. "I can't promise anything," she said finally. "But if you can deliver Madison's resignation without a fight, I'll structure the merger to preserve Hammond's autonomy. Your family stays involved. You get a real leadership position, not just a token board seat. And us? We figure that out after the business is settled, one crisis at a time." After they disconnected, Sophia wondered if she just made a terrible mistake. Letting emotion influence business decisions was how empires fell. But maybe, just maybe, it was also how you stayed human in an industry designed to strip away everything soft. San Francisco, Schols Innovation Campus. Olivia Clarion had spent the night at Schols headquarters. ostensibly to monitor the market opening, but really because she wanted to see how Ethan reacted to the Hammond-Dustin situation. He'd been evasive about his trip to New York, and her instincts told her something had shifted. Now, watching him stare at his phone with an expression she'd never seen before, those instincts screamed warnings. "Something wrong?" she asked. Ethan started slightly. "No, just monitoring the situation." The situation being Dustin's takeover announcement in 15 minutes? Among other things. Olivia moved closer, studying his face. She'd spent enough time with him to read his micro-expressions, and right now he was projecting guilt and conflict. "Where were you last night?" "What?" "You left the office at 6. Didn't answer your phone. Came back at 3 in the morning, looking like you'd been through something intense." She kept her voice level. Professional. "So I'll ask again. Where were you?" "That's personal." "Nothing's personal at this level. You taught me that." She pulled out her phone, showed him a photo. "This is from the MGM Grand security system. I have friends in Vegas hospitality. That's you in the lobby at 2 a.m. Ethan's jaw tightened. "You're having me followed?" "I'm protecting my investment. There's a difference." Olivia zoomed in on the photo, showing a second figure in the background, Madison Hammond. "So now I'll ask a third time, and I expect the truth. What the hell are you doing?" "It's complicated. Simplify it." "I have feelings for Madison Hammond." Ethan's composure cracked. "There, is that what you wanted to hear? That your partner and ally has been meeting secretly with our competitor, that I might be compromised?" The office fell silent except for the hum of electronics. "How long?" Olivia asked. 2 months since the first meeting. Last night was the first time we—" He trailed off. "Slept together. You can say it." Olivia felt something cold and sharp twist in her chest. Jealousy, she recognized. Not just professional concern, but actual personal jealousy. And now, what happens now? "I don't know. We're still on opposite sides, still committed to our companies. But I can't pretend I don't care about her." Olivia turned away, needing a moment to control her expression. She'd known developing feelings for Ethan was dangerous, had warned herself repeatedly not to let their partnership become personal. And yet somehow she had. And now she was facing the reality that those feelings were one-sided. "The market opens in 10 minutes, she said, her voice steady through sheer force of will. "Dustin announces her takeover. Hammond fights back. And you and I proceed with our alliance exactly as planned. Whatever you feel for Madison Hammond, it can't affect our business." "Olivia." "No." She turned back to face him. "I need to know right now whether you're still committed. Because if you're going to let personal feelings compromise our strategy, I need to know so I can plan accordingly." Ethan met her gaze. "I'm committed to our alliance. I won't let my feelings for Madison affect my decisions." "Can you promise that?" A pause. "Yes." You hesitated. "Because I'm trying to be honest with you. Because you deserve that much." Ethan moved to his desk, pulled up market data. "I won't sabotage our partnership. I won't leak information or pull back support. But I also can't promise I won't try to find solutions that don't require destroying Madison's company." "That's the same thing as sabotage." "Maybe. Or maybe it's just refusing to let business turn us into monsters." Before Olivia could respond, the market opened. Dustin Shipping's announcement hit the news feeds, and Hammond Media stock immediately began climbing on speculation. The war had begun in earnest. Los Angeles. Hammond Media Tower, Executive Boardroom. Madison arrived at her office to find her board already assembled. Someone had called an emergency meeting without her knowledge, which meant the coup Derek had threatened was already in motion. She entered the boardroom like she was walking into battle, which, in a sense, she was. "Gentlemen," she said, taking her seat at the head of the table, "I assume we're here to discuss Dustin's offer." "Among other things," said Harold Chen, her CFO and a longtime Hammond family loyalist. "We've received information that you were in Las Vegas last night, meeting with Ethan Scholes." "Damn," Someone had talked, or security had been breached. My personal life is relevant when it affects company business. Derek interrupted from the far end of the table. He looked tired, she noticed, like he hadn't slept. You've been secretly meeting with our competitor while refusing to negotiate with our potential ally. The board has concerns. The board can address those concerns directly to me. We have, said Patricia Morrison, the lead independent director. Multiple times, you've refused to engage meaningfully with Dustin's preliminary offers. You've maintained a relationship with Schols despite our cybersecurity conflicts. And you've shown an unwillingness to make the hard decisions necessary for this company's survival. Madison looked around the table, counting votes. She had maybe 4 directors she could count on. Derek had the rest. So this is it, she said quietly. A coup. This is the board exercising its fiduciary duty, Patricia corrected. We're not firing you, Madison. We're asking you to step aside voluntarily, to accept a role as vice chair with a generous compensation package and ongoing involvement in company strategy, while Derek takes over as CEO. And if I refuse, then we vote, and you lose. Patricia's expression was sympathetic but firm. You've done incredible work for this company. Your father would be proud. But right now, Hammond Media needs someone who can make decisions without personal conflicts. Someone who can navigate the alliance with Dustin without hesitation. Someone weaker, Madison said. Someone who'll let Dustin absorb us without a fight. Someone practical, Derek countered. The alternative is a prolonged hostile takeover battle that destroys shareholder value and leaves us vulnerable to being carved up by competitors. Dustin's offer is generous. It preserves our brand and our operations. It's the right choice. Madison thought about her options. She could fight, force the vote, probably lose. Could spend the next year in legal battles while her company bled resources. Could watch everything her family had built get torn apart by lawyers and proxy fights. Or she could accept reality. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. Whatever happens, I'm here. 4 words that somehow made everything both better and worse. I need 24 hours, she said, to review the terms, consult with counsel, and make a decision that's right for all stakeholders. The board exchanged glances. 12 hours, Patricia offered. We need to respond to Dustin's announcement before markets close tomorrow. Done. Madison stood and walked out of the boardroom with her head high and her heart breaking. Outside, her assistant looked up with sympathetic eyes. Hold all my calls, Madison said, and book me a flight to San Francisco. If she was going down, she was going down fighting. And if that meant making choices that looked insane from the outside, so be it. At least they'd be her choices. New York, Dustin Global Headquarters. Late afternoon, Derek Hammond arrived at Dustin headquarters feeling like he'd won and lost simultaneously. The board had voted no confidence in Madison, just as planned. The merger would proceed, securing his position and his future. But instead of triumph, he felt hollow. Sophia met him in her private office, closing the door for privacy. I heard about the board meeting. Congratulations. Don't. Derek, I betrayed my sister, overthrew her because I was too weak and too ambitious to find another way. He collapsed into a chair. This was supposed to feel like victory. Sophia sat across from him, her expression unreadable. Victory usually feels like this. Like you sold pieces of yourself to get what you wanted. How do you live with it? By remembering that business requires hard choices. By accepting that you can't have power without sacrifice. She reached across, took his hand, and by finding people who understand that burden, who won't judge you for it. Derek looked at their joined hands. Is this real, or am I just another acquisition to you? I don't know, Sophia admitted. I've spent so long treating relationships as transactions that I'm not sure I remember the difference anymore. But I want it to be real. If that counts for anything. It does. They sat in silence. 2 people who'd won their corporate battle but weren't sure they'd survive the victory. San Francisco, Ethan's penthouse. Madison arrived unannounced, which should have been impossible given Ethan's security, but she'd called in favors with his head of operations. Now she stood in his foyer, dripping from unexpected rain, looking fierce and vulnerable simultaneously. "I'm out," she said without preamble. Board voted no confidence. Derek's taking over as CEO. Dustin merger proceeds with or without me. Ethan crossed the space between them, pulled her into an embrace. She was shaking, he realized, from cold or emotion or both. "I'm sorry. Don't be. It was inevitable. I was just too stubborn to see it." Madison pulled back, looked up at him. "But it means I'm free. For the first time in my life, I don't have a company to protect or a legacy to maintain. I'm just myself." "What will you do?" "I don't know. Travel, maybe. Take time to figure out who Madison Hammond is when she's not running a media empire." She smiled, but it was shaky. "Or I could stay here, see what happens when we're not on opposite sides of a corporate war." Ethan felt Olivia's words from that morning echo in his mind. Can you promise that? His hesitation. His inability to commit fully to either side. "I want that," he said carefully. "But you should know. Olivia has feelings for me. Our partnership is getting complicated. Does she matter to you, personally? I respect her, admire her brilliance, but I don't love her." He cupped Madison's face. "I think I might love you, which is insane given our situation, but there it is." Madison's eyes filled with tears. "That's the worst possible thing you could have said." "I know. Because now I can't walk away. Can't take the clean exit and start over somewhere else. I'm trapped by feelings that make no logical sense. Welcome to my world." They kissed, desperate and fierce. Two people choosing connection over logic. Outside, San Francisco glittered in the rain. And somewhere across town, Olivia Clarion was making plans that would shape all their futures. 3 weeks later, New York Financial District. The summit was Olivia's idea. Get all 4 families in one room, establish ground rules. Try to prevent the industry from tearing itself apart. Neutral territory, mediated by independent counsel, with strict confidentiality agreements. Sophia Dustin arrived first, projecting confidence despite internal turmoil. Her merger with Hammond Media had proceeded, but Derek's leadership was proving problematic. He was too cautious, too willing to compromise, still guilt-ridden about betraying his sister. Derek himself arrived second, alone. Madison had refused to attend, citing conflict of interest. Really, Sophia suspected. She simply couldn't face her brother yet. Ethan came third, looking uncomfortable in a formal suit. He'd been avoiding Olivia since Madison's departure from Hammond, and the tension between them had started affecting their business decisions. Olivia entered last, armored in haute couture and cold determination. She'd spent 3 weeks trying to suppress her feelings for Ethan, failing, and finally deciding to weaponize them instead. If she couldn't have him romantically, she'd make sure their business partnership was unbreakable. "Thank you all for coming," the mediator began. "We're here to discuss industry cooperation and establish frameworks for competition that don't result in mutually assured destruction." "We're here because we're killing each other," Sophia interrupted. "Let's not pretend this is anything other than a forced truce." "Agreed," Olivia said. "So let's address the reality. 4 major conglomerates, overlapping business interests, personal entanglements that compromise judgment. We need clear boundaries." "Like what?" Derek asked. "Non-compete agreements? Market division?" "Both, potentially. Plus transparency about mergers and acquisitions, advance notice of major strategic moves, and protocols for dispute resolution." Ethan leaned forward. "And the personal complications. Because those aren't going away." Everyone looked at everyone else, acknowledging what they'd all been avoiding. Derek and Sophia's relationship, Ethan and Madison's affair, Olivia's unrequited feelings, the tangled web that made every business decision potentially personal. "We compartmentalize," Olivia said firmly. "Personal relationships stay personal. They don't influence business decisions." "That's impossible," Ethan countered. We're humans, not machines. You can't just separate emotion from logic. Then we fail, because if we let feelings drive strategy, we make catastrophically bad decisions. The meeting continued for 4 hours, covering territory division, technology licensing, media rights, and cryptocurrency standards. By the end, they'd hammered out a framework. Fragile, imperfect, but better than total war. As they filed out, Olivia caught Ethan's arm. "Can we talk? Privately?" They found an empty conference room. Ethan leaned against the table, waiting. "I've been unfair to you," Olivia began. "About Madison. About expecting you to ignore your feelings for the sake of business. That's not reasonable or sustainable. Where's this coming from? Reality. I developed feelings for you too, real ones. And I finally understand that trying to suppress them doesn't work. It just makes everything worse." She took a breath. "So I'm proposing something crazy. We make it official, all of it. You and Madison, me and someone else. Derek and Sophia. We stop pretending the personal and professional are separate and instead figure out how to manage both honestly." "You and someone else?" Ethan's eyebrow rose. "Is there something you're not telling me?" Olivia smiled slightly. "There's a woman I've been seeing. Nothing serious yet, but it could be. She's in finance, completely outside our industry. Thinks what we do is insane. She's not wrong." "No, she's not." Olivia's smile faded. "Look, I'm tired, Ethan. Tired of pretending I don't care about anything except market share. Tired of treating relationships as transactions. My father built an empire but died alone. My brother had everything but never found happiness. I don't want that to be my story. What do you want your story to be? I want to build something that matters, with people I care about, even if those people are sometimes my competitors." She straightened. "So that's my proposal. We maintain our business alliance, but we also acknowledge that we're human beings with complicated personal lives. We support each other through the complications instead of treating them as weaknesses." Ethan considered. It was idealistic, probably unworkable, and went against every principle of corporate governance. It was also the most human thing anyone had said to him in months. "I'm in," he said. "If Madison agrees, where is she?" "Anyway?" "Me and Madison?" "Starting a nonprofit, digital literacy education for underserved communities. Using her Hammond Media severance package to fund it." Ethan's pride was evident. "She's happier than I've ever seen her." "Good. We need more people in this industry who remember why they got into it in the first place." Olivia extended her hand. "Still partners. Still partners." They shook, and for the first time in weeks, Ethan felt like maybe, just maybe, they could all find a way through this that didn't require destroying each other. 6 months later, Convergence Summit, Dubai. The industry had changed, though not in ways anyone predicted. The Hammond-Dustin merger had created a media and logistics powerhouse, but was struggling with integration issues. Schols-Clarion remained dominant in digital infrastructure but faced increasing regulatory scrutiny. The 4 families, 5, if you counted Madison's new venture, had settled into uneasy cooperation. Market territories were respected more often than not. Personal relationships had stabilized, with Derek and Sophia maintaining their complicated romance. Ethan and Madison building something real. And Olivia finding unexpected happiness with her finance executive girlfriend. At the annual Convergence Summit, a gathering of technology and media leaders, they all took the stage together for a panel on corporate cooperation. "The future isn't about competition," Madison said, now comfortable speaking as an outsider. "It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected, that the decisions we make affect millions of people who have no seat at the table. Easy to say when you're not running a public company anymore," someone in the audience challenged. "Exactly," Madison agreed. "Which is why it's important that someone says it. You need voices reminding you that markets aren't just abstractions, that behind every stock price is real human impact." Sophia nodded from her seat. "We disagree on methods, Madison and I, but she's right about the principle. Corporate responsibility has to mean more than quarterly earnings. Does that mean Dustin is changing its practices? Another audience member asked. It means we're trying, imperfectly, with backsliding and mistakes, but we're trying. Sophia glanced at Derek. Sometimes change comes from unexpected places. The panel continued, covering technology ethics, market regulation, and industry cooperation. It wasn't revolutionary. No one was dismantling capitalism or radically restructuring corporate governance. But it was a start, a recognition that maybe there were ways to succeed that didn't require becoming monsters. Afterward, the five of them, Madison, Ethan, Olivia, Sophia, and Derek, found themselves in a hotel bar, exhausted and slightly drunk on accomplishment. Two unlikely alliances, Ethan toasted. And complicated relationships, Derek added, and not completely destroying each other, Olivia finished. They drank, and for a moment, they weren't CEOs or rivals or dynasty heirs. They were just five people who'd survived a corporate war and somehow came out the other side still human. This isn't the end, Sophia said. We'll compete again, fight over markets and technology and influence. Probably, Madison agreed. But maybe we'll do it while remembering we're on the same side, the human side, outside. Dubai glittered with impossible architecture and concentrated wealth. Inside, five people who'd nearly destroyed each other toasted to finding a better way forward. The corporate wars would continue, but perhaps, just perhaps, they'd found a way to wage them that didn't require surrendering their humanity in the process. And that was a victory worth celebrating. End of part 7. I love making these videos for you. If you liked this story, then please like, subscribe to my channel, and switch on the notifications for more entertaining stories. Please also leave a comment for any story suggestions.